Great. So lovely to see you all here today. It's Jenny and I's pleasure to give you a little bit of an introduction to Bristol Vet School at the school within the University of Bristol. So my name is Sue Horseman. I have a few roles here at the vet school. So I am the vet school's admissions tutor and also the international director. And I'm also a lecturer in clinical companion animal behaviour. So I teach behaviour, welfare and ethics across all of our undergraduate programmes. So both our veterinary science programmes and also our veterinary nursing programmes. And you see here my little dog Brian. So Brian is a teaching dog here at the vet school. So Jenny will probably talk a little bit about how we use teaching dogs within our teaching, but along with their kind of practical purposes in terms of teaching vet students, they're also great to have around the campus, and students are often delighted to come and pick up a teaching dog from an owner's office and take them out for a walk in their break times as well. So I'll just hand over to Jenny to introduce herself.
So hello everyone, and yeah, very warm welcome to this International Science Week. I'm Jenny Mason. I am a clinical practicing vet, so I work in the equine practice that we have as part of Langford Vets, and that's called the Stables Equine Practice. It's based down at Wookey. So I spend time between the central campus right in the middle of Bristol, the Langford campus, where we do most of our animal direct handling type practicals and things there, and between Wookey. So I'm the year one lead for the BVSC, so the 5-year veterinary science programme. So I am really your go-to person for everything really in the first year, but you also then see me across all 5 years of the course in different guises at different stages. So I'm very much an active teaching clinician across all 5 years of the course.
Thank you, Jenny. So what we're going to do to start off with is we've got a video which lasts around 15 minutes, which shows some, I guess, hands-on practical stuff that we do here at the vet school. So it's a video of a first opinion consult. And what we're going to do after that video is really draw out how within the veterinary science programme we help you to develop the skills that you'll see the vet student within this video showing.
Hi, I'm Claire and I'm a vet from Bristol University. I'm here to show you what a normal vet consultation might look like, how we investigate problems in animals, and how we teach those skills on the veterinary science course. Okay, City is a 12-year-old male-neutered domestic shorthand cat. He was last seen for his booster in January. Great. City?
Hello, how are you?
Hello, good, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. Hello, City. I'll just open up his carrier to see if he's brave enough to come out on his own.
Sure, let's try it. I
Hello.
think you will.
Are you alright, Danny?
Hello, yeah. Coming out, mate.
What can we help you with today?
So I've just noticed that recently he's been drinking a lot more than normal. It's been going on for about a month, and he's sometimes drinking out of the bath taps even, and I can hear him drinking a lot more at the moment, so I thought I'd better bring him in and see what's going on.
Okay, fine. And how about his urination? Has that been any different?
I've had to empty his litter tray a lot more regularly than I have before,
Okay.
so I think he is urinating a bit more regularly.
Okay, fine. And any straining to urinate or vocalising when he does?
Not that I've noticed, no.
Okay. And how about his eating?
He's actually been leaving a little bit of his food.
Okay.
So I did cut it down a little bit because I thought he didn't want it, but he's still leaving it.
Okay.
He doesn't eat at all.
So you decreased his eating and you've cut it down a bit and he's decreased a bit more?
Yeah, he's still not eating everything I put down for him.
Okay, and do you know how long that's been going on for?
A couple of months or so.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 months at the most.
Okay. And his bowel movements, have they been about normal?
Well, I wouldn't know, I'm afraid. He does all that outside.
That's fine. And his activity level?
He's always been quite a lazy cat, so that really hasn't changed very much. He still spends most of his days just lying around, really.
Oh, great. And last question, any vomiting?
Well, he's always vomited a little bit anyway, but I've not noticed any more vomiting than normal.
Great. Perfect. Perfect. So I think we should have a look at him.
Okay.
And I also want to check his weight. Did you manage to get a weight from him today?
Yes, I weighed him on the way in.
Lovely. Okay, so in January he was 5.9 kilos, and he's now weighing 5.4. The weight's just come off as. So he's lost quite a lot actually since January.
Good job, Susie.
Well, because you haven't tried to get him to lose weight, and he's kind of chosen to eat less, that's a bit more unusual.
Okay.
And I'm wondering whether it might actually be related to his drinking and urinating.
Oh, right.
Because normally they wouldn't choose to eat less themselves.
Okay.
But we'll pop him out and we'll have a look. Thanks, really comfy on there. Good boy. So we'll just have a look at him. So I'm going to look in his eyes.
Okay.
They look nice and bright. No problems there. Lovely. Ears are fine. And we'll look in his mouth.
Okay, he may not like that, so just make sure he doesn't.
That's fine. No ulcers or anything like that.
Good boy.
His thyroid gland feels completely normal. And if you just pop a hand on him, I'll just get the stethoscope.
Sure.
And actually, before I stress him out too much, I'll just take a breathing rate.
Okay. Got a line nice and good.
Okay, that's about 36, so that's completely normal.
Lovely.
And we'll listen to his heart. He's a good boy. He's purring, but I should just about be able to get a heart rate. Great, that's about 180, so completely normal as well.
Oh, good to
Now
know.
just listen to his lung sounds as well while we're here. He's a good boy. Lots of purring.
Mm.
Nothing abnormal that I can hear there, but just listen, have a feel of his belly.
What are you feeling for?
So this is his guts, and we'll have a good feel of his kidneys as well.
Uh-huh.
And they feel fine. He has got quite a full bladder there.
Oh, that might be because we were waiting for quite a long time,
Oh,
so
really?
you might need a wee.
I'm sorry about the wait today.
That's all right.
Good, so apart from a bit of a full bladder, otherwise completely normal. With Sooty getting on a bit in his years, with the, sorry Sooty, with drinking more, urinating more, and that bit of weight loss, there are a few conditions that it would be good to get him tested for.
Okay.
So the ones that I'm thinking about specifically might be a kidney disease, an overreactive thyroid potentially, diabetes or potentially liver disease. So it would be really useful to do a few tests to be able to rule those things in or out, so that we can get to the bottom of Sooty's signs today.
Do you need to do that now?
Has Sooty had breakfast?
Yes, he has.
Okay, so it would be better to do it tomorrow, when he hasn't eaten breakfast, if that's okay.
Oh, sure, yes.
Are you able to pop him back in the morning?
Absolutely, no problem.
Great. And so tomorrow we would check his blood pressure, do some blood tests, and it would also be really helpful to have a urine sample for him, which I would send you home with a kit to do tonight, if that's okay.
How am I going to do that?
So it is really simple. There's a kit that comes with a pipette, a pot to put it in, and some non-absorbent beads. And so last thing tonight, I want you to empty his litter tray just before you go to bed. And the beads will sit in there, so you refill that with the kit. And they'll sit in there so that when he goes to urinate in the morning, they won't be absorbed, and you'll pipette the urine into the pot and then bring that in for us to have a look at.
Yeah, that sounds
Does that sound
straightforward.
okay?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
of course. No problem.
Could you pop him back at 8:30 tomorrow morning?
Yeah,
Lovely. That's before my consult, so we'll get him sorted and home again.
Oh, lovely.
And we can go from there. I will take them off you.
Okay.
And I'll wait in here and I'll be back in a few minutes.
All right, lovely. Thank you.
First up, it's time to take Sooty's blood pressure. We need to check that the cuff that we will put around Sooty's leg is the right size, so you can see this being measured now. We want it to be about 1/3 of the diameter of the leg. We take Sooty's blood pressure in exactly the same way that we would do for a human. Sooty is kept nice and calm while the cuff goes round his leg. The machine then inflates so that no blood is flowing through Sooty's arteries. Then the cuff starts to slowly deflate and the machine detects any vibrations that represent blood flow through Sooty's arteries again. The first vibrations to occur as the pressure decreases is due to systolic blood pressure, which is the pressure in the arteries when the heart is contracting, and this gives the reading at the top. Then, as the cuff continues to deflate, the machine detects further lower pressure vibrations. This is due to the diastolic blood pressure, which is the pressure in the arteries when the heart is not contracted, i.e. when the heart is relaxed. This gives the number at the bottom. Blood pressure is likely to raise when an animal or person is stressed, and therefore we want to take Sooty's blood pressure before causing any other stress. We also want to take the blood pressure readings several times and take an average over about 5 readings. And in this way, we hope to lessen the artificial effects of stress on the readings. Next, we want to take blood from Sooty. This is most easily done from the jugular vein that runs down Sooty's neck. So to do this, we need to extend Sooty's neck upwards so that the vein is nice and straight to be able to push a needle into it. The person taking the blood will raise the vein at about the level of the collarbone. By stopping blood flowing down, the vessel will maintain full of blood so that it can be collected. With calm and quiet handling, the blood can then be taken. The blood then needs to be decanted into appropriate tubes to be analysed. The pink tube has a substance called EDTA in it, which stops the blood clotting in the tube. The tube is lightly rotated so that the EDTA can properly mix with the blood. This means that cells will be able to be looked at under the microscope at the lab to tell us what proportion of each blood cell is in the tube, and we call this haematology. Next, the blood is decanted into the yellow tube. This has sodium fluoride in it, which allows the blood glucose levels to be analysed. This is really important to look at to see whether Sooty might have diabetes. Finally, the rest of the blood is put into a plain tube. The blood will clot in this tube, meaning that just the serum can be analysed for what we call biochemistry. This involves analysing the levels of markers like ions or enzymes in the blood. This will tell us things like how well the kidneys are filtering substances out of the blood. We can also look at thyroid hormone levels in the blood serum to give us an idea of whether Sooty is experiencing a disease called hyperthyroid disease. Finally, the blood is packaged off and can be sent to the laboratory. The last test that we want to do are tests to analyse Sooty's urine. First, we want to see how well Sooty's kidneys are concentrating his urine by using a refractometer. To use a refractometer, we first want to calibrate it with distilled water, and we set the value to 0. We want to hold the refractometer up to the light because it works by seeing how much the light is bent or refracted by the liquid on the slide. In this way, we can compare the concentration of the urine to the concentration of distilled water. So now, we put urine onto the slide and take the value from the refractometer on the right-hand side of the display. We asked for a wee as soon as Sooty woke up in the morning, as that is the point of the day that urine is likely to be most concentrated. We will then compare the level of concentration of the urine to the level of substances in the blood to decide whether the urine is an appropriate concentration or not. Next, we will use a dipstick to analyse some more markers in the urine. This can also be done using a machine. A dipstick is a thin plastic strip with squares of chemicals on it. We want to put a drop of each urine onto each chemical square and wait a specified amount of time. The colour that each square changes to will give us certain values. By waiting the specified amount of time and then comparing the colour of each square to the chart on the bottle, we can see certain values. For example, we can look at how much protein is in the urine, as this will give us an idea of the progression of any kidney disease. Changes in pH, for example, might give us indication of a UTI. Sooty's tests are nearing completion and he can now be returned to his owner.
Okay, all done.
Thank
He was a very good boy.
Yeah?
Yes.
How did the test go?
So we've still got a few to run and the blood to take a day to come back. So if it's okay, I'll call you tomorrow with all the results.
Oh, okay. Well, I only live down the road, so I can pop in if it's easier.
Brilliant, that'd be great. If you make an appointment with reception, but just make sure that it's with me.
Okay,
we'll
sure.
chat it all through tomorrow.
All right, brilliant.
Lovely.
We'll see you tomorrow then.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye. Mrs. Jones.
Hi.
Morning, do come in.
People are going to think I've moved in.
Oh, great. I'm so sorry. Hopefully this will be your last visit for a few weeks.
Oh, I hope it's a lot longer than that.
Why don't I remember this one? So with the test that we've done, we've been able to rule out quite a few conditions.
Oh, good.
So we've been able to rule out diabetes because he had no glucose in his wee and it was normal in his blood.
Excellent.
We've been able to rule out an overreactive thyroid gland because his thyroid hormones were normal. And we've also been able to be pretty sure that he doesn't have liver disease because his liver parameters are normal.
That's a relief.
We don't think he's got a UTI. He wasn't straining to wee and there are no signs in the urine.
Okay.
So really that leaves us with the kidney parameters. So his urine was quite dilute at the same time as having quite a high value of a substance that we want them to filter out called creatinine. So that's a bit more of a worry.
Oh dear.
His blood pressure was quite high and also his phosphate levels were quite high as well. So thinking about all the signs together, so those test results along with the drinking more, urinating more and the decrease of appetite, it's most likely to be a condition called chronic kidney disease.
Oh right, I see.
That is a progressive condition. It's not reversible, but we can slow the progression with the things that we will do. And to get on top of that, we'd like to do a few things. So firstly, it would be good to put him on a special kidney diet. For that to work, he needs to be given exclusively that, so nothing else. And we need to gradually introduce that diet.
Sure.
There are lots of different types of that diet and we've got sample packs at reception. So if you take those away, try him on a few and see which one suits him best.
Okay, lovely.
If he's not getting on with them, please chat to us because there are alternatives that we can look into.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
With the condition of chronic kidney disease, he can lose protein into his urine. He's not doing that now, which is really good, but we'll need to check the urine periodically to see whether he might start to do that. The high blood pressure is something that we'd like to get on top of. It can make the kidneys decline faster. It can also make them go blind and go into organ failure. So it's quite important that we get that blood pressure
Definitely,
down.
yeah, sure.
That's actually a medicine that we'll give him, so a medicine called amlodipine, and they'll come in tablets. And we'd like you to give half a tablet once a day.
Oh gosh, I'll try.
Okay. Try for now and see how you're going with it, and then in 2 weeks if we could repeat that blood pressure, that would be brilliant. At home he wants constant water, so always should have water access. And if you get worried about him, if he starts being more lethargic or vomiting, do bring them in straight away.
Okay.
So I'm going to send you home with a summary sheet of information.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions right now?
No, not at the moment. I'll have a read through the information and then call if I need to clarify anything. Is that right?
Absolutely. Please make sure you remember that we're at the end of the phone and yeah, here to support you in City. So if we could make an appointment then for 2 weeks' time to reach out that blood pressure and we'll go from there.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. No worries.
Have a
See you
good
then.
day. Bye. Bye.
Hi everyone. So hopefully that's given you a really good insight into the types of skills that we would help you develop in order to help you achieve your goal of becoming a veterinary surgeon. So just bear with me a second while I go back to our presentation. Is that showing up okay, Jenny? Yeah. Perfect. So obviously there are a number of places that you can train to be a veterinary surgeon. So I'd just like to tell you a little bit about us specifically at Bristol and why we think that it's a really great place for you to study. So in 2020, we were listed as one of the top 3 UK vet schools, and we're also 13th in the world in the 2022 university rankings by subject. We consistently have really high scores for our student satisfaction. Sorry about that, I don't know when that's happened. We're widely accredited, and I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the presentation. And our graduates occupy a diverse range of roles worldwide. And I think it's important to recognise that a veterinary science degree doesn't only qualify you to practice as a veterinary surgeon. There are lots of other things that you can do with a veterinary science degree as well. Our teaching is research driven, and we have a range of clinical and academic researchers within the school who inform our teaching. And we'll talk a little bit more about our facilities as well, which are on site that we use to train our veterinary science students. So just an overview of the range of programs that we teach. So these are our taught programs within the vet school, and we also have research programs as well. So this presentation is going to be focusing on our BVSc veterinary science, which is a 5-year program aimed at school leavers. And we admit around 180 students onto this per year. And it's taught across 2 campuses. So the Langford campus, which is slightly a few miles south, so about 14 miles south of the city centre of Bristol. And also taught across the Clifton campus as well. So that's the campus which is within the centre of Bristol. And then we have a few other programs as well. So we have an accelerated program for science graduates. We also have a veterinary nursing degree, and we also teach an MSc in global wildlife and health. So there's a wide range of students who are on the campus at any given time, and it's been lovely being back on campus after some period of lockdown and not being able to come in, to really feel the buzz on campus again, which is one of the things that I certainly love about being at the vet school. So just emphasising a little bit more about that 5-year programme that we're going to focus on. So this is taught across 2 campuses. So the Clifton campus in the centre of Bristol, and then the Langford campus, which is pictured in the picture that you can see on your screen here. Years 1 and 2 are taught primarily on the Clifton campus, so in the centre of Bristol, and students usually live there as well. But students regularly come out onto the Langford campus, particularly to help develop their practical skills, where we have all the resources for that. Year 3 teaching is split across both campuses, and then year 4 and 5 are much more clinically focused and are taught primarily at Langford. But Jenny, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So I'm going to hand over to Jenny now, who's going to talk in a little bit more depth about our curriculum and also our facilities.
Thank you, Sue, that's great. So we have a variety of different areas and topics which we cover in the different 5 years, and we have some threads which are consistent across all of them. So those that are boxed in the darker blue in the central, the professional studies, animal management, the evidence-based veterinary medicine, veterinary public health, and then the clinical and practical skills will really be a revisited spiral thread that will come back and develop and grow year on year, depending on which year you're in. Then you'll be experiencing a different part of it, but those will be consistent across all of our years. So in the first year, we look and start really with the animal health science, and this extends into the second year, but we'll start you off looking at anatomy and physiology and biochemistry. And we use some things like case-based learning to pull the clinical relevance out of these. Alongside this, you're getting your animal management skills and keeping how we look at housing and keeping different animals and their daily management, and then their kind of annual management. And that will run alongside things like professional studies, where you will get your basic skills of communication, particularly, which we focus on very strongly in the first year. They build then through into animal disease, which starts in the second year and runs into the third year, where we look at a little bit more of the applied disease and where things are. So you take your basic anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and you look then at how that is impacted and how immunology, pathology, and pharmacology particularly develop. Parasitology has a really strong base within animal management. It's about the life cycles of parasites and how we manage them, which is becoming ever more challenging as the number of wormers, I'm sure you guys will be aware that we have a finite number, and it takes us a lot longer to develop drugs for this than it will take for any parasite to evolve and become immune to the drugs that we're already using and that we have. So animal disease will be a really strong focus in years 2 and 3. In the third year, we also start with clinical veterinary science, and this is where, if you're going into the 5-year course, you often find then AGEP students will join us in this part. So they usually join in our third year, and you'll learn the basic clinical sciences, which will apply across all animals. So we'll have small animals, and equine will be our companion animals, and then we'll also have farm and production animals in there. And this is looking at the basic diseases that we see. So we work through these very much system by system. And then in the final year, we've got an extended clinical final year. So the students in their 4th years will usually sit their exams around about Easter time, and then straight away they will go on to their clinical final year. So we have a series of rotations here, which every student is expected to participate in every rotation and pass every rotation. And the rotations have a degree of different things that we assess. So knowledge is really assessed in your end of 4th year exams. And in your 5th year, we're really looking for your professional skills and attributes and your clinical competencies. And we'll assess those across our key core subjects. So they will traverse things like small animal practice, hospital and medicine, then equine and farm as well. There's then a period of track, which is optional, and you can select which ones you do. It's only a short time period, and that will allow you to have a period of focus in a subject area that you'd like to indulge yourself in a little bit more, or maybe strengthen something that's weaker. The elective is then really the kind of pièce de résistance for you being able to focus on what you'd like to do for your career usually. An elective choices are really, really broad. So we'll offer them in all the key species and key subjects where we've done our course rotations. So you can go back into the hospital and experience some time there. Alternatively, we do some different ones. So there are some business management ones, there are some research ones, and there's a industrial ones. So you can find an elective to suit you and your future. And this is where Sue says the veterinary graduate can go anywhere and do anything. And it's not just about being a clinical vet. It will work perfectly if you want to be a clinical vet, don't get me wrong. It's a great source of the grounding that you need to be a really good clinical vet. And that is what most of our graduates will do. But equally, if you'd like to go into research, if you want to go into pharmaceutical industries, if you would like to go into food health and hygiene and food production, then there are things there. There are government-based roles for vets. So there are so many options, and the elective period hopefully gives you all an opportunity to then explore where you'd like to go before you graduate. So should we do the next slide? Thanks, Sue. So we try and keep teaching updated by looking at the research. Evidence-based veterinary medicine has become a real buzz in the last few years, really decade or so, that we've really been pushing this. It's always been there in the background, but we've now got really evidence-based led teaching. So within that, we've got clinical research being performed on site by colleagues both in the university and within Langford Vets. So Langford Vets is a university-owned subsidiary company, and that essentially provides you guys all access for your clinical teaching. But in the same time, it's also a practicing hospital, and there will be research that goes on there from the clinicians within it. We have a really, really strong animal welfare and behaviour team, of which Sue is one of our key members, and they will be researching across a variety of species, both companion animal and farm animal, and looking at how we influence then the industry and the systems to really improve animal behaviour and welfare, well-being, and that then we feed forward to you as well. We've got a group who work on One Health, and whatever One Health means to you, but for us, it's much more about taking the whole global perspective. So looking at humans, looking at animals, looking at the environment, looking at that great big picture, and really thinking with that wider centre, and particularly with looking at antimicrobial resistance. So we can keep those key antimicrobials that we need for humans, but also have something that's effective for our animals as well. We have what we call the I3, so infection, inflammation and immunotherapy are a really key team in looking at some of our research outputs. We've got the Centre for Innovation of Excellence in Livestock. We have the Oldacre Centre, where our farm research data platform is, and we're looking at pedagogical research as well, so teaching research. We have one of our key leads is our faculty education director, and she has a PhD looking at pedagogical research and really is inspiring to the rest of us, and we all therefore are aiming to improve how we teach and what we teach and the way we do it, which is really productive for then what you guys get to learn and experience, and how we teach and how we put that forward. So we're looking at research at a variety of different levels to keep your teaching up to date and be the best teaching that we can be. So what does year one look like? Well, I've devised this year's timetable, and I can strongly say that no 2 weeks look the same. We have about 50% live contact with you, and that may be in person, in practicals out at Langford. It could be in practicals in Southwell Street and the anatomy centre there, or it could be in some of the other campus buildings in the medical school, for example, where you'll do some of your physiology and biochemistry practicals. So lectures, strictly speaking, are a varied event. Some of them will be narrated lectures online, sometimes with the task associated with them, and others will be in person. Now, most of your lectures we've got starting this year for the current cohort are going to be based in the Clifton campus rather than at Langford, and that's just a space-based thing. But the Langford lecturers are travelling in to the centre in Clifton to deliver them. So it's still the same staff doing what we'd like. It's just a little bit of logistics and space, particularly with kind of the aftermath of COVID. So hopefully things will return a little bit more to normal, and we don't all have to do a drive out, and you get to spend then a little bit more time out at the Langford campus. But either way, the practical animal handling side of it is very much done from Langford. At the end of the year, And just a little bit in the middle, we have some written exams and some practical exams and some coursework. So there will be what we call directed self-education, which is your formal coursework. That happens at staggered times throughout the year. So there'll be some professional studies material, some animal management material, and some animal health science, which covers then the physiology, the biochemistry, and the anatomy. And then at the end of the year, we have our larger synoptic exams, if you like, for the end of the year, which then you must pass to be able to progress into the second year. The practical exams are very much kind of a animal handling event, and are really something at the moment we're insisting that you pass before entry to third year. So if you do need to resit any of the practical exams, that's something we certainly can facilitate you doing again before you get onto the clinical years in year 3. Thanks, Sue. So we've got some really fantastic facilities. We have first opinion practices for small animals, for farm animals, and for equine. We've got the large referral practice that makes up the majority of the Langford Vet sites for small animals. We've got a commercial dairy farm on site. So Windhurst Farm is where you will do your large animal or farm animal handling and the teaching and clinical skills there. We've got fabulous clinical skills laboratories. So Bristol has been a real world leader in developing the clinical skills lab. And if you'd like to go on, there is a website which contains a lot of the clinical skills laboratories material and the teaching that we use. So we've used something which we call flipped classroom material, and we started this well before COVID. And really it's something that the rest of the world has taken on with post-COVID teaching. But we'll have very good guides on how to do skills, which you can access in advance and then go into your practical fully armed and really raring to go to actually do the tasks. So much more of the practical is spent doing rather than having it explained, because you've got the what you're doing in advance. We've got a commercial abattoir on site, so all students can go through an abattoir rotation, and that's one of our final year core rotations. We've got some fantastic state-of-the-art wet labs. So this picture shows you what's the Brinsea building, which is a teaching lab associated with a post-mortem building. And we'll look at cadaver specimens in here, and they can be across a variety of species, subjects, and different areas. But this is really useful. We've got, as you can see at the top of the screen, on the ceiling area, there's lots of ceiling mounted TVs. We've got cameras which will be on the demonstrators bench, which then can show everybody really clearly, so you all get really good access, and you can follow through the tasks as we do them there. And we've got a brand new post-mortem facility, which is just across the other side of the wall of this. So we've got some really state-of-the-art facilities at Langford, which are fabulous. So we also then have a state-of-the-art referral hospital for small animals, and we have the facility to do things like MRI and CT. We've got a full on-site lab, and one of the rotations, again, will go through clinical laboratory work. And as we've said, we've got first opinion, small animal, equine and farm animal practices. So the small animal clients generally come to the practice, and in equine and farm, most of the time we then head out into the beautiful Somerset countryside and see the horses and cattle and sheep and goats and alpacas and occasionally pigs and poultry. So we will see a real wide range of species across those first opinion practices with you. Our clinical and practical skills are embedded throughout the curriculum. So this basically means you're learning the skills that you need to use really just before you're actually going to get to use them. So we start you off with animal handling in the first year. And in the first year, you'll get usually cats and dogs and horses and sheep and cows and calves to do. And in the second year, we move on and do some of the exotic species. So there'll be more of the small mammals, so the rabbits, the guinea pigs, chinchillas, potentially, things like that, rats and mice. And then also the poultry and the pigs in the second year too. So then our clinical skills, such as gloving and getting your gloves on in the right manner. So this is open gloving is on the picture here. Then students learn that in our clinical skills lab. And this is something then those skills can be really built on, and you can you can make them really familiar skills before you then hit the clinics. So here's another picture of our clinical skills lab. It has got such a good international reputation. The team here work really, really hard and are constantly innovating different models and sharing them with other universities across the globe. So for students, you've just got swipe card access, so you can get in here 24/7. We do close it just before as we're setting up things like exams, but you usually as a year group have a little bit of prioritized access in that immediate revision period. So here they're talking about catheterizing, and you can see we've got a little model dog limb and the fluid that we want to then pop in through our catheter, and we're demonstrating then how we're going to place that just by palpation on our own bodies as well, so you can feel where your veins and the like run. So extramural studies is something that we get students to do, and we're obliged to get this done because it's an RCVS, so the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons requirement. Amounts have varied in the past couple of years with COVID, but I anticipate then at the moment we're still on a 12-week preclinical experience, which you're going to do in your holidays. So this is going to be the Christmas, the Easter and the summer vacations between years 1 and before you start year 3. Now, 26 weeks need to be done of your clinical rotations in years 3 to 5. There are some times to do this in the rotation timetable. You have a 6-week block there where you can do your EMS as well. So it's not just got to squeeze in all the holidays. So please don't look at the numbers there and be frightened by that. We allocate you some time to do it. In terms of where things are going to be next year, I am not entirely sure because we don't know, and when the RCVS decide, they will pop that up on their website, and hopefully we will then have the details for you to keep that up to date. So please do look at that. And we've got a really strong EMS team. It's led by a preclinical team and a clinical team. So we have one vet and a really strong admin team supporting them. So we help you find some of your placements in the UK if you need. We've got a good long list of places where other vet students have been and have been reviewed by former students. So that's really helpful to you to be able to find places to go. You can do a number of placements internationally. We ask for some in the UK, and the team here will really guide you as to what's possible, where and when in your course. But do feel that if you want to do some at home in your home country or in another international country, that option is really available to you. So back over to Sue.
Thank you, Jenny. That's given us a really great overview of our programme and teaching. So I'm just going to finish up just with a few kind of key points about our programme. So firstly, just to note that it's widely accredited, and you can see all of our accrediting bodies here on the page. What that really means to you is that the world is really your oyster in terms of where you go and practice. So we recently got AVMA accreditation, so American Veterinary Medical Association accreditation, meaning that you can go and practice in the US. And then our Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons accreditation opens up lots of doors in Europe and beyond as well. So lots of possibilities in terms of where you practice. Intercalation is something which is a possibility on our 5-year programme. So this is just the opportunity to take to have an additional year of study and to go and complete complete 1 year of a different degree to get another degree qualification. And there's lots of different programmes, so they may be veterinary related programmes, but they can also be something completely different if you just fancy a change and maybe broadening your horizons and developing your skills. I think it's fair to say that our vet students have a good work-life balance and spend a lot of their time doing social activities. It's really important for mental well-being that our students engage in these activities as well. Centaur is our vet school society, and they organise a range of social events. They have sports clubs. They have a clinical club, so they arrange external speakers and different talks for students. But they also play a key role in our student support, including our vet family system. So all of our first years are sort of allocated a vet parent. So that's a member of a higher year group who kind of takes them under their wing and looks after them, especially in those first few weeks when they join us. And beyond that, so beyond Centaur, there's a range of support for our students. So there's support at the university level, there's program support, including a personal tutor. So you're all allocated a personal tutor. And also, as Jenny mentioned, there's also dedicated placement, so EMS support team as well, to support you while you're out and about on those EMS placements. And then finally, just to touch on admissions for 2022 entry. So just a reminder that the application deadline is the 15th of October. We look for 3 A's, including A level, so including chemistry, and then 1 of biology, physics or maths, or you have your IB requirements, and I've put those up there. So with an overall 18 at higher level, and then some specific subject requirements as well. We don't have a requirement for any in-person work experience at the moment. So we recognise that it's been very difficult for people to get in-person work experience. And instead, we're asking all of our applicants to complete the Future Learn virtual work experience course. And I'll make sure a link to that gets sent out to you guys so that you've got it and can access that. So it's a really great course which gives you an insight into all different aspects of being a veterinary surgeon. We then ask you to complete a supplementary assessment questionnaire. So this asks a range of different questions around what you perceive to be the role of the veterinary surgeon within society, and also to reflect on your own attributes in relation to studying veterinary science, but also in relation to being a veterinary surgeon. We don't routinely use personal statements as part of the selection process, but I would encourage you, when you're completing your personal statements, to think about all those things to do with your extracurricular activities. Also think about your suitability for the programme, and also have a look at our admission statements, because there's some great guidance in terms of things to consider within there. And then also just to note that interviews are not routinely used as part of the selection process. We get around 1,400 applications per year, and we make around 450 offers for around 180 places. And I just want to say, so I think there's a little bit of a myth that it's really hard to get into vet school. So don't forget that all of those applicants who will have applied to us will also probably have applied to 4 or more other vet schools as well. So actually, when you look at the stats in terms of applications and people who get a place overall, it's around half of the applicants who apply to do a veterinary science course actually get a place. So the stats are pretty good. And then I'm sure Brian will share some information about how to get further information, and we'll have an opportunity to take some questions, and I can see those coming in as well. But just a reminder that there's the choose bristol-ug@bristol.ac.uk email address should you have further questions as well. So thank you all for listening.